Black people don't over-season food. You've just been under-seasoning yours. Same chicken, same rice, different result. So what's the difference? Given scraps, made flavor. That is the reality nobody wants to talk about. In the kitchens behind those big plantation houses, the head cook did not get baskets of fresh herbs or imported spices. She got what was left after everybody else took their pick: fatty pork ends, chicken backs, a handful of greens, maybe a scoop of rice if the day was good. Salt was rationed, pepper was precious. Anything extra, like cloves, nutmeg, or a splash of vinegar, was locked up tight, and you had to ask for the key. But here is where skill turned struggle into survival. The head cook, quiet, sharp, always watching, knew exactly how to work with what she had. A ceramic pepper grinder sat tucked on a shelf, a battered barrel held shared spices, and a fat pot bubbled on the fire. She would grind pepper with dried bay leaves, sage, and thyme to make a dry rub that could stretch across a week's worth of meals. A little pork fat mixed with salt and whatever else she could scrounge became the base for beans, stews, and grits. Leftover cuts were not just thrown in a pot. They were seasoned, smoked, braised, sometimes pickled in vinegar, with a dash of whatever was left in the spice jar. Every pinch of pepper was measured, every bit of flavor layered to make sure nobody sat down to a bland meal, even when the cupboard was close to empty. This was not about being extra. This was about making the difference between just getting by and actually tasting something worth remembering. Survival demanded creativity, and flavor was the reward. That is the real story behind all that seasoning: necessity, hustle, and a head cook who refused to let scraps taste like defeat. Nobody just woke up one day and decided to throw every spice in the cabinet at a pot of food. That logic runs deep, straight from West Africa to the Low Country. Take a look at red rice on a Sunday table in Charleston. Now picture jollof rice bubbling in a Nigerian kitchen. Same one-pot build, same tomato base, same slow layering of heat and smoke. That's not a coincidence. That's inheritance. Flavor wasn't invented here. It traveled. Bene seeds came over with enslaved people from the Windward Coast. Those tiny seeds, they're everywhere, in gullah cooking, bene wafers, sesame-crusted fish, a handful tossed into greens. West Africans were already using bene for crunch and depth long before it hit Southern cookbooks. And the dry rubs, that Cajun blackening you see on catfish or chicken in the South, is family to suya, the Nigerian street food classic. Suya rub is ground peanuts, cayenne, ginger, toasted seeds, rubbed on meat and seared over fire. Gullah cooks took that logic, swapped in what they had: paprika, garlic powder, a little smoked salt, maybe crushed bene, and built a new flavor profile that still hits with the same punch. One Gullah cook puts it plain: we don't just season, we build. Every layer got a reason. So when you taste that Low Country red rice, you are tasting a straight-up remix of jollof. Local rice, local pork, but the flavor math is African. Ingredient swaps happen, but the technique never left. That's why it's not extra. It's ancestral muscle memory. It's skill, not accident. And it's the reason bland food was never an option. Nobody handed out bonuses for flavor. You had to hustle it. When all you got was a sack of beans, a greasy pork bone, and a hope you learned quick. Seasoning was engineering. That head cook, she was running a side business before side hustles had a name. Every pinch of pepper, every drop of vinegar, every scoop of rendered fat, stretched, saved, and flipped into something worth eating. Fat wasn't just a leftover, it was liquid gold. They'd skim it off the top, stash it in a fat pot, then use it to fry, braise, and build a base that made beans taste like a payday. A little smoked pork skin, hit with salt and pepper, crisped up and sold on the sly, and brought extra rations if you did it right. Folks traded peppered biscuits, vinegar pickled greens, even candied ginger from scraps and peelings. That's not just survival, that's Black Wall Street on a kitchen table. You want to talk about flavor? It's chemistry, and economics. Smoke covers up the bland, vinegar keeps things fresh, and a dry rub of bay leaf, thyme, whatever you could scrounge, turns a tired piece of meat into a meal people lined up for. And when the pepper barrel ran low, cooks pulled what they had, sharing spoons and secrets to keep the flavor going. Seasoning wasn't just about taste. It was about pride, reputation, and putting a little extra in your pocket when nobody was looking. That's why every bite had to slap, every pot had to stretch, skill beat ingredients every single time. And that legacy, still working its way through family recipes, one well-seasoned dish at a time. Sunday dinner hits different. The whole house starts to hum by noon, pots clattering, something sizzling, and that wave of garlic, onion, and pepper curling up the hallway. You don't need a clock. Your nose tells you exactly what time it is. That's not just food cooking. That's a family tradition clocking in for work. Every black kitchen has its own rules, but one is universal. Don't touch that pot unless you want to lose a hand. The matriarch, grandma, auntie, mama, she is the keeper of the blend. Her seasoning jar might look like it came from the dollar store, but what's inside? That's a family secret, guarded tighter than the Wi-Fi password. She seasons by memory, not by measuring spoon, and you learn by watching, not by asking. Kids drift into the kitchen, drawn by the smell of smoked paprika or a splash of vinegar hitting hot greens. That scent is not just hunger, it is a memory trigger. Neuroscientists say smell is the shortcut to nostalgia, but in black homes, it's the glue. One whiff, and you're 6 years old again, waiting for her to say, go set the table. Flavor isn't just taste, it's a homing beacon. That's why people come back, plate after plate, year after year. The seasoning pulls you in, but the memory keeps you coming home. If you want to know what seasoning really does, count the seconds. That's the scoreboard. You put out a pot of greens or red rice, and folks go back for another scoop, sometimes before they even finish the first plate. That's not just hunger. That's flavor working overtime, pulling people back to the table like a magnet. Nobody lines up twice for bland food. It's the seasoning that gets you invited to the cookout, the reason your cousin's friend keeps showing up at Sunday dinner with Tupperware. When the pot scrapes empty and the kids are fighting over the last biscuit, you know you did it right. The real test isn't what gets served, it's what gets finished and what people come back for. That seconds count, that's the metric. It's not a guess, it's behavioral fact. The more layers, the more flavor, the more people want to repeat. That's not being extra, that's being unforgettable. Seasoning is the reason the kitchen turns into a reunion every time. If the food hits, nobody leaves with just one plate. 2 plates hit the table. Both look good. Crispy chicken, fluffy rice, golden and seaming. But here's the catch. One plate got the full treatment, soaked in buttermilk brine, hit with a dry rub of paprika, garlic, cayenne, finished with a squeeze of lemon. The other, salt and pepper, nothing else. Tasters line up, forks ready, eyes darting. First bite, the plain side. Chewing, polite nods. It's fine, it's food. Now the seasoned plate. Faces change, eyebrows shoot up, heads start nodding for real. Somebody lets out a low whistle. One taster drops a fork and just laughs. The verdict is instant and unanimous. Every hand goes back for the seasoned chicken, scooping rice before the plates even cool. Seconds disappear in under a minute. Nobody wants the bland side. That's not just preference, that's proof. Layered seasoning flips a meal from forgettable to can't stop, won't stop. Debate settled, flavor wins every time. Seasoning isn't just flavor, it's legacy and love, all in one bite. Right now, black food keeps rewriting the rules and setting the table for everybody else. The real question, if taste is memory, what stories are you serving? Drop your answer below. Let's see what you're cooking with.